All right. It is all yours, Sam. Go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Chase. Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to our Intermountain West Adobe Analytics user group. Let me just share my screen here. So my name is Sam Fonoimoana, and I head up this group here located. We're just south of the Adobe campus here in Lehigh, but we do most of our events virtually. I think the last time we met, Jen, we did a joint event with North America East and Jennifer Dungan, who I think you're on. Hello, Jennifer. Hey, Jen. She gave an awesome presentation on migrations. Now, everyone, I think a lot of people know Jen. She's awesome and she's crazy creative. Mine won't be necessarily that nifty, but I hope the content is still going to be very helpful for all of you on today. So we're here. Our topic today. I'm giving the first presentation of the year, and I'm happy to talk about something that's interesting. For me personally, for my company DataJoin, and for a lot of people who are in the Adobe marketplace right now, thinking about moving from Adobe Analytics to connecting analytics data with other systems in CJA in an AEP. So that's our topic for today. You might have noticed that I changed the title a little bit to ID mapping for Adobe Experience Platform. And, we will get to how Adobe Experience Platform and CJA are very much connected in just a little bit. And so I thought it'd be more fitting to rename this to ID mapping for Adobe Experience Platform. Awesome. So just really quickly about DataJoin. And DataJoin helps companies, analytics teams specifically, to be able to connect their analytics data with other systems, and it's something that we're passionate about. Um, it's it's not the funnest thing. I think people think of data plumbing, and it's not very enjoyable. But for us here at DataJoin, it's definitely enjoyable for us to be able to connect different systems together and help marketing teams and sales teams to be able to piece together, their stack. And so we are an official Adobe partner, and this is our endorsing code from the product marketing team. How we help many Adobe customers to be able to connect. Whether you're on Adobe Analytics or if you're moving to CJA, Adobe Experience Platform, DataJoin is here to help make that transition smoother. It can be daunting, moving outside of the world of analytics and starting to connect to other systems, such as whether it be Salesforce or Marketo. And DataJoin is here to be able to help teams, make that transition seamlessly and smoothly with a great strategy. So that's DataJoin, and ID mapping for Adobe Experience Platform is a topic that's right up our alley here at DataJoin, and we hope that after today's presentation, that many of you will be able to go back to your teams if you're thinking about moving to CJA or Adobe Experience Platform. We hope that many of you, most of you, all of you will be able to go back to your teams and have a good idea of how to start connecting your Adobe Analytics data with other systems. And so let's get into it. And so this is why I renamed it, ID mapping for Adobe Experience Platform. So this diagram shows all the applications built on top of, this bottom layer Adobe Experience Platform. Adobe Customer Journey Analytics, that's one application that sits on top of the Adobe Experience Platform. This here is really where you do all the data ingestion, and you can do the data connecting and combining down here in Adobe Experience Platform. And this is what I refer to as underlying data. Jim Gordon, he wrote a great article about this last month, talking about the AEP mindset and how how if you can connect the data down here in AEP, then you can not only help CJA, but all of these other applications inside of the new world of Adobe Experience, can also tap into this underlying data that's connected. And so Today's session is to show you how to start connecting analytics data with other systems. And the key to that is ID mapping. So, what is ID mapping? That's what we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about how to build it. But before we get into it, like why even connect analytics data with other systems? And last summit I gave a session on how Adobe Analytics is the gold mine of behavioral data. Things that we take for granted inside of Adobe Analytics, all of that rich event tracking that we're doing, what people are doing on the website. Um, you know, sales team and the marketing operations team, they would kill to have that data. They would love to have that data at their disposal so that they can not only see what leads are in their database, but they can see everything that they're doing. And so that's why I think that us as analytics users, oftentimes I don't think we realize the potential of the data that we have that we're already collecting inside of Adobe Analytics, and how it's the gold mine. And so how do we connect this analytics data with other systems? There's one big problem, and that's connecting ECIDs with other IDs is tough. So if you're to go into Zapier, Zapier is good at connecting systems, but if you try to type in Adobe Analytics inside of Zapier, there aren't going to be any zaps available, right? And it's easy to move data from certain systems to other systems, but anonymous visitor IDs and ECIDs, connecting it with other IDs is tough. And the way I look at the world, at our stack, is that there's basically two teams. You've got one team here that's made up of, you've got Salesforce, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics. You've got all your CRMs. You've got your marketing automation platforms with Marketo and Eloqua. You've got POS systems such as Shopify. All of these systems are on a certain team, and I call this team email, right? A Salesforce lead ID roughly corresponds 1-to-1, with an email address. Same for contact ID inside of Dynamics, inside of Oracle, etc. So all of these, it's easy to talk these systems because they all use a common key, that's email. So that's why I call them team email. If you have any questions, feel free to just drop them in the thread, and then we'll do a Q&A after the presentation. And so team email, and then on the left here, you've got Adobe Analytics. You've got Google Analytics as well. They probably fall into the same boat. But you got Adobe Analytics, and I call them Team Anonymous, right? Here, the identifier is an ECID. If you're on Google Analytics, it's the GA client ID, and these are anonymous visitor IDs. And so while these guys can all talk to each other, can readily talk to each other, Adobe here on the left, Adobe Analytics is left out. They're with Team Anonymous. And so let me give an example of how there's a big chasm to cross here. So let's go with the Salesforce example. Let's say we want to be able to connect our analytics data, with our Salesforce data. So if we pull some Adobe Analytics data from a data feed or whatnot, we can see this data is every video view, right? That's what it represents. So you've got the ECID, you've got the video title that they viewed, and then you got the timestamp of the video view. So that's the Adobe side data. And then if you've got the Salesforce data, which is further down funnel, we have emails, and then we have lead IDs, and then we have the date that they converted to an opportunity inside of Salesforce, which for most B2B models, right, that's where the handoff to sales happens, is if a lead converts into an opportunity. And so if we were to pull these two data sets into Adobe Experience Platform, let's say we've got the Adobe Analytics connector, or we're using the new web SDK to be able to pump this directly into AEP, and then we're using the Salesforce connector. Even though they would both technically be inside of Adobe Experience Platform, you wouldn't be able to get them to talk to each other because there's no common key. You don't know which ECID, if any, corresponds to SAMat data join or native data join. And so this is the chasm that we have to cross if we want to be able to bridge. And this is how I thought about like how it might look, right? It's a big chasm to cross. Like how do you build a bridge that can get us across, and so we could talk with team email. And so ID maps are the essential bridge to be able to do that. So if we had a data set, right, inside of AEP, and there's a couple of different ways we could do this, but if we had a data set like this would be an essential bridge that says, hey, ECID 472 is sam@datajoin.com, right? And there could be, multiple ECIDs. There probably is going to be multiple ECIDs corresponding to my email address, depending on if I wipe my cookies, using different browsers, etc. But the key is if we have this bridge, then we can connect the data together, right? This is basically both, the first two data sets that we looked at. This is them now combined, that we can see the ECIDs, we can now see the corresponding emails, we still see which videos that they viewed when, and we can also see when, if any of them converted, which the first one did convert into an opportunity. So that's the power of ID mapping, is that it actually opens the gate and opens the door to connect your analytics data with all of the other systems, which is great. So let's go build an ID map. There are, as they say, there's many ways to skin a cat. Today, we're going to go through two different methods of how you can build an ID map with your team. And that way you can, start connecting analytics data with other systems. So before I just kind of show you the method, I guess I just want us to kind of sit back and think, where can we find emails and ECIDs in the same place? If we're trying to bridge the gap between, hey, which ECID corresponds to which email, where can we find emails and ECIDs in the same place? And if you think about that, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's on your website. That's where you can capture. It's a great capture point, probably the only capture point that you can find both ECID and email. So this here, this is a contact us form, just sample on the website. And if Adobe Analytics is installed on this page, and they fill out this form, if they raise their hand and fill out their email address, then on this page, once they put their email address, you will have both email address available, and then also the ECID will be inside of the AMCV cookie that would be you'd be able to access as well. So let's talk about method number one of how we can build these bridges by being able to capture the ECIDs and the emails on your website. So method number one is passing the ECID on form submission. So I'm sure there are people on this call who are familiar with this method. When I first started my career, this is the method that I used. Working with, you have to work with a few teams to be able to pull this off. With the Salesforce team, in my case, in my experience, and with whoever controls the forms on your website, you have to work with them as well. But this is a good method. And so let's go through the steps here. Step number one is you would need to add a hidden input form field that is going to store the ECID. And so let me give you an example. This is a hidden input field, right? And we named it ECID. And then as you can see, that value is equal to that's an ECID right there. And so that's step number one, is that whoever controls the forms, whether that's your web developer team, whether that's you, or if that's the marketing ops team, I control the forms. If your company uses a marketing automation platform, get with them. And if you can add a hidden input field to be able to store the ECID, that's step number one. Step number two, you need some JavaScript to be able to populate the field with the ECID, this hidden input field. And so, for us here on this call, I'm sure many of us are familiar with this little JavaScript snippet, but this is what can extract the ECID out of the AMCV cookie. If Adobe Analytics and the Experience Cloud ID service is on your website, this little JavaScript snippet will be able to grab the ECID, and then you can go ahead and your JavaScript can also, set that equal to the value of the hidden input field as well. So step number 3, depending on where it's going, if your lead submissions go into Marketo, you'd have to do this in Marketo. This example will be with Salesforce. So wherever your leads go, once the form submission happens, you'll need to add a custom field on the destination system object. And so for this example, let's just take a look at Salesforce. This is inside of Salesforce, the object manager. This is the lead object. And, for any Salesforce admin, this is a 2-minute exercise to go ahead and just, click new, add a new field. And, I've already created it here in this little demo snapshot. But, that's nice. That's waiting for the ECID. Yep, there you go. And then the last step, which is also important, you need to work with your Salesforce team again to be able to make sure that the hidden input form field is mapped to this new custom field. For our example in Salesforce, if it's in Marketo, you have to make sure it's mapped to that new custom field inside of Marketo. And so just to give, extra visualization of how that's going to work, you've got the hidden input form field. Our JavaScript is populating the value of this hidden input field with the ECID. And now on form submission, we have to be able to map it, to this new custom field inside of Salesforce. And, this might be easier than you think. If you think about it, like forms are already passing data into Marketo or Salesforce, such as first name, last name, email. So this would just be adding another field that would map to this new custom field. And that's it. And so once this process is set up and it's running, so on every form submission, you'd be passing the ECID in this example, onto the lead object inside of Salesforce. And this is what the lead records would look like inside of Salesforce now. You'd have name, created date, company, email. These are all standard out of the box Salesforce fields. But then you've got our new custom field storing the ECID, and this is awesome. So this is a bridge right here between the email and the ECID. So once you start pulling this Salesforce data now into Adobe Experience Platform, you've got a bridge, right? You've already got the ECID that's related to the email addresses right here, and you can take extra steps inside of AEP to kind of spin off your own independent ID map table, so you can use the email ECID combinations to link to other systems. If you want to link it to your Shopify, you have an email address now for your ECIDs. If you want to link it to to your ERP system, to Oracle, you have email. Or if you've got call center data, all of that's possible now because you've established a bridge here, passing the ECID into Salesforce. Great. So that's method number 1. Method number 2 is to deploy the data join tag in launch. This is something that we just released into beta. It should be available inside the launch extension catalog here early next week. But the AEP ID map launch extension here by data join, this is also a great method. You won't have to worry about bringing in your Salesforce team or bringing in your marketing ops team if they control the form. You would just have to deploy the launch extension on your website, and then it would automatically start collecting emails securely, and ECIDs as well. And so this is the extension. This is what it's going to look like. If you check, once again, the catalog early next week should be available for use. And these are the steps of how it works, I guess, underneath the hood. Once you deploy the AEP ID map, what it does is it listens for any form submissions on your website. You don't have to worry about any JavaScript at all. You just deploy it, and then it's already built into the extension tag. And then on any form submission, it securely sends emails and ECIDs to DataJoy. And just to add a little more information on the security, emails are encrypted in transit and at rest, end to end. So you can rest assured that your emails are going to be hashed and safe. And then once once you set up the extension, the data join team works with you to be able to sync the ID map into your AEP instance. And once again, this is this is a light lift, I guess. Like we would just work with your team and just figure out, what your Adobe organization ID, basically know where to point the ID map to. And this is what it would look like, inside of Adobe Experience Platform. Data join automatically through the APIs will set up, all of the classes, the schemas, the data sets, and start populating the data set, so that you don't have to worry about, I don't think anyone necessarily enjoys, having to deal with the XDM format, but data join handles all that and programmatically starts populating this map between ECIDs and emails, which is which is another bridge right here. And so you would have this standalone identity table you can use to join your analytics data now with all the other data sets that we looked at before, that are on team email. And so, like, it doesn't matter which method you take. Like, if you're going to pass the ECID forward, or if you use the launch extension, then what you're going to have is Team United. Adobe is no longer going to be left out on its own, but it's going to be right there, smack in the center. Once again, I'm a firm believer that Adobe has the best quality behavioral data. That's why I call it the gold mine. Salesforce doesn't track what's going on the website. Dynamics doesn't track what prospects are doing on the website. Neither does Oracle. But Adobe Analytics, is already tracking that. And so that's my presentation for today. And I think now we can open it up for any questions. I'd love to be able to answer for you if I can.
There were a couple in the chat, Sam. So.
Okay, awesome. Let me see. Let's see. Let me scroll to the top here. Plumbing is cool, Sam. Thank you, Jen. Could the ECID be the MCMID from Gautam? Yes, the MCMID and the ECID are synonymous, also known as the MC Viz ID. There's been a lot of names over the years, but Gautam, yeah, thumbs up to your question. The ECID is the MCMID. We can just collect the MCMID on the forms too, right? Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Let's see. Oh, Jen, you already beat me to it. You answered him. Okay. Yep.
But it's good to have it in the recording, so when you post it on YouTube, people can also get the answers.
Yes, good point. Thank you, Jen. Okay, let's see. Like tags and launch. Thank Rajdeep. Yes. Let's see, Gautam, can we use an alternate solution to collect the ECID in Salesforce and then connect them to Adobe data? Yes, I mean, however you get the ECID into Salesforce, as long as you can get it in there, I'd be interested to hear, Gautam, like what other alternate way that you're thinking about doing it. But yes, as long as you can get it in there, then once you use the connector to pull the Salesforce data into AEP, you've got your bridge right there. Hopefully that answers your question, Gautam. And then see, Marianne, how does Adobe generate the ECID? The Adobe ECID, Jen, you can help me out with this if you know, but I believe it's just randomly generated for every visitor in a browser. So if I open up a new browser, I have a different ECID for myself, even on my same phone. If I wipe my cookies and I come back to the site, I get a new ECID.
Yeah, it is device. Yeah, it is device specific, but it does. there's a couple of different methods. I mean, if you're still using the app measurement, it uses the Demdex server and third-party cookies. So once it's set an ID for you, it should reset that ID in every site within your organization. The optimal term being should, because we all know Safari's ITP and other death of cookie type things tend to cause issues with that, particularly with the third-party cookies. And then the web SDK, I believe, uses server-side identities to try and reset the ECID properly to your site. So hopefully that should get around the third-party cookie challenges that we're all going to run into very, very quickly. Anything else? But yes, definitely there's going to be differences between devices and also browsers on the same device. So, you know, if you use Chrome and Firefox, it will come up with a different ECID. And again, if your cookies get blasted or manually deleted or just generally corrupted, then you could end up with a new ECID for the user when they come back to your site.
Yep. Thank you, Jennifer. I'll have to sync up with you. Yeah, I wanna absorb all that. So
Sure.
let's see. Jonathan, can emails have multiple ECIDs? Absolutely, absolutely. Like if I log in, you know, to Xfinity, you know, on my phone, on my iPhone, I'm going to get one ECID there. If I'm using the mobile browser, if I use the mobile app, I'm going to have a different ECID that's tied to the mobile app. If I log in from from Chrome on my computer, I'll have the same email has now a third ECID. And then if I log in on Edge, you know, because my Mac broke and I had to use my sister's PC, then yep, I would have a fourth ECID. So email can have multiple ECIDs. Thanks for the question. Let's see. See how to, okay. Thank you, Ankit, for also answering Marianne's question. Mohammed, when we can try the AEP ID map extension, can we get the beta version now? Yeah, so next Monday, like we submitted it on Monday, our developers, we submitted it on Monday for approval. And so my guess, it says like 5 to 7 business days. So my guess is sometime Monday or Tuesday next week. Mohammed, I'll keep track of you, your name, and I can let you know when it's available. I'll ping you. Okay. Let's see. Thank you. Let's see, Jen. The visitor ID service in Adobe generates the ECID on app measurement. Okay. Is this what you were explaining earlier, Jennifer?
It was, yes.
Okay.
And if you want to just keep that thread going, you know, someone else said the visitor service does it, and for Web SDK you don't need that extension because I believe that is actually all built in, rolled into the Web SDK extension. So you don't need 2 separate extensions. The Web SDK basically does everything.
Okay, great. Let's see. You mentioned that form submission details will be captured. Does it include forms ingested through iframes? Now that's a great question. So if you're using iframes, especially if it's a cross-domain iframe, you will have to make sure that you have a script on the iframe as well to make sure that it can communicate that the parent, the parent frame is gonna that the iframe is acceptable, for the parent frame to be able to talk to. So there is a slightly different setup using the data join extension for that. But if you're doing it, method number 1, you just have to make sure that your JavaScript can make sure it can grab the email out of the iframe. Good question. Let's see. Jody, good to see you again. Yes, yeah, we can share the deck, no problem. Let's see. Tom Kirwin, would it make sense to collect ECID using an alternate method outside of forms and joining in Salesforce? Any thoughts on alternate methods like leveraging Adobe Launch? What process would be recommended to ensure that the most recent ECID is captured as it is changed? Yeah, this is a great question. As I think about it, I mean, if you think about places where where emails and ECIDs exist, where the customer, you know, gave you permission, basically. Like for me, that's forms on your website. So whether that's a lead gen form, you know, where they're raising their hand and giving the email, that's a good capture point. Or whether it's some sort of an account creation form on your website, or if it's even a login for customers, right? To me, like that's the best place to be able to capture it. I can't think of another place to be able to capture it where, you know, like they gave you permission, and you know, and the ECID is on the page. The most recent ECID will always be on the page. So when you listen for the form submission, when you grab that ECID from the cookie, it'll always be the most recent ECID to answer that part of the question. So thanks for that question, Kirwan or Tom. Okay, let's see. Zin Lee, can we capture email and ECID with? Yeah, yep. That's another method right there that we use with some of the companies that we work with, especially where, you know, they're still, you know, trying to cross sell customers, existing customers. When a user signs in, is a good place to do it as well. Let's see. You mentioned that, okay, post message API can be used for cross origin tracking, such as iframes. Okay, thanks, Ankit. Post message API. I'm less familiar with that. Yeah, I'd love to understand more about that, Ankit. Let's see. Just to confirm, email addresses would be hashed automatically. Yes, that's correct. Well, using the data join extension, they would be hashed automatically. If you're passing them into, you know, if you're passing it into Salesforce, there's not really any need for the email to be hashed because they're basically raising their hand and you're passing it to where it belongs, which is into the CRM or the marketing automation platform. So, but with the data join extension, absolutely, it's hashed for extra security. Can you speak about the next steps needed in AEP and CJA for merging, stitching data sets coming from website and Salesforce, considering your website data has the ECID and email? I apologize if this goes beyond the scope of today's discussion. No, this is a great question, Rajdeep. Yeah, I can, you know, we could probably talk more in depth if you want to, you know, we could probably sync up offline, but yeah, inside of CJA and AEP, there's two, you know, as far as like the how, like how do you stitch the data together? Inside of AEP, you know, our team uses the SQL module to be able to create a data set. Our team is data engineers. You know, at least part of our team are. So we use SQL to be able to combine the data, so you can come up with your attribution data sets. And this is down at the AEP layer. Now you can also, you know, build a connection inside of CJA. For those that don't write SQL, that's another method that you can go. You can pull, you know, you can pull your analytics data into a connection. You could pull your Salesforce data with the ECID bridge also into the connection, and then you can join inside of CJA in that connection off of the ECID. So that's two different ways of how to do it. As far as how to make sure you're you know, reading the data correctly and make sure you're not you know, like misattributing, or you got some sort of weird multiplication with your join, you know, that's going to multiply your touches. You know, that's probably for a separate conversation to make sure that you get the join correctly. But that's the how. Like you can do it down in the AEP SQL layer. That's how we like to do it, to make sure that, you know, the advantage of doing it down in AEP, if you SQL it together down there, then the other, you know, the other platforms would be able to use that data. So AJO would be able to tap into that data set that's combined and use that for their, you know, for intent signals for the email blasts, right? But you know, if you're not as familiar with SQL, you can always pull it into a connection. No problem, Jennifer. Thanks for joining and supporting. So, Awesome. Well, let's see. Hands, you might, in addition, use a CRM ID into the UTM parameters of e.g. newsletter subscribers, login cases, and add this to your ID stack. Yes. As far as CRM ID, Hands, if you're thinking about that being, like a lead ID, for Salesforce or for your CRM, putting that into the UTM parameters. Yeah, that's another way. I think that would work for email blasts. If they have a way to kind of dynamically add that to their links, or if I don't know if this is what you're thinking, but or if your ads have a way to, yeah, probably wouldn't be from the ad side. They wouldn't have access to the CRM, but I think the marketing automation platform would be able to dynamically add that to the links of the emails. So when they click on the email link, it have the CRM ID appended, and then you can read that into an EVAR, on the Adobe side. I don't know if that's what you're thinking, Hans, but that's kind of off the top of my head, thoughts on that. Let's see, what percentage of users, let's see, Zin Lee. Sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, Zin. Sorry. Let's see, what percentage of users would be linked, mapped, using either solution 1 or number 2 on average? Okay, so I spent a lot of my career doing method number 1. And like, I'll just say there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of places where you can get snagged up. And let me explain. Like for one company, like we thought that we had set up the hidden input field on all the forms, but then they had another team using a different form technology. They're using like some sort of unbounced forms or something like that. And like none of those had the hidden input field to collect the ECID. And so, that's a place where we're missing a lot of the form submissions. And so, also, it just depends on your lead flow. Like if on form submission, I've seen some stacks where on a form submission, it doesn't go to the marketing automation platform or to the CRM. It first goes to like some other internal database system that they have. And then from there, it has to get mapped over to, let's say, to the marketing automation platform. And then from the marketing automation platform, you have to make sure that it gets synced into the CRM. So I'm just pulling up all of like kind of my bad memories from using method number 1. But I guess my point is, I would say that a higher percentage, because the data join extension, like we have that knowledge at data join, we know all the loopholes, so we built it so that it will listen for any form submission. It doesn't matter if you got an unbounced form or if you got a Marketo form or some other form, custom form. It'll listen to any form submission and it will capture it and then it will send it through to AEP. So, even though the extension is going to launch next week, technically, our tag we've been using for a long time. That's embedded inside the extension, and it will capture a higher percentage in our experience than going about method number 1. So sorry for the rant, but hey, I got some history there. So thank you, Rajdeep. Well, I think that's it. If there's any last questions, I guess going once, going twice. But thank you very much. Thank you for the questions. You guys had me on my toes. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn, Sam Fonoimoana. I'm the only one on there. You can email me at sam@datajoin, and I'm happy to have a conversation with any of you on method 1 or method 2, or if you got some other method idea, I'll be happy to bounce that off with you too. Tom, yes, I will post the deck, and then Chase will make sure that the recording gets up to the YouTube, to our YouTube page for the Adobe Analytics user groups. Okay? Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Bye. Aloha.